Hi guys and girls, once again it's the Jeep Doctor. Today we're going to do the pinpoint test for the P0320 no crank reference signal at PCM code that a lot of Jeeps, Wranglers, ZJs, all the way up to the Liberties will get. So I'm going to walk you through how to diagnose this. I've already got everything set up. I already did the preliminary stuff. I removed my air intake box all the way over until you get to the air filter box. So that's just basically to give yourself enough room to do this diagnosis procedure. Now in front of me you'll see my trusty Blue Point multimeter. This unit's made by Fluke, and they're not exactly cheap. And since this is a basis for a do-it-yourself type deal, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, normally I don't recommend this, especially if you're doing some kind of testing against the PCM, but for this one it'll be alright. And what we've got here is a Chintec multi-tester. You can pick these up at Harbor Freight. You can either order one online if you don't have a Harbor Freight store near your home, or a lot of times if you look in the back of Motor Trend or JP Magazine or something like that, you can actually get a coupon, and if you buy, I think, $10 worth of stuff, they give you one of these for free. So this will actually work for what you need. And all the settings is about the same. They might be just a little bit different. But if you have any questions about the Chintec, I do have one in my possession. And if this is what you go and pick up, then I can actually help you, walk you through it using this multimeter. But like I said, there's not a whole lot of difference. The settings around the dial are pretty much close to being the same as what's here on my Blue Point multimeter. Anyway, so this is my 97 TJ. This is what we're going to test on. The TJs and the ZJs, the Grand Cherokees, are very similar. The later WJs are very similar until you get into like the 3.7 V6 series, and they actually changed some things on those. So if you have any questions about those, feel free to email me. I'll do some research and maybe I'll do a follow-up video on those. But they don't really have as many problems. The 2.5 and the 4 liters are the ones that always have problems and always have the P0320 pop up. And what you'll get from these is a lot of times you'll go out and your Jeep won't crank randomly. It will turn over, but it will not fire up. And what it's doing is losing crank signal, so the PCM doesn't think the engine's turning over. So anyway, let's get started, guys. So first things first, I've got my multimeter here. We're going to set it to volts, DC volts, not AC volts, because cars run off direct current. Your home is what runs off AC or alternating current. So what we've got going on here is right back here we have where the crankshaft position sensor is plugged up. The connector runs down and the crankshaft position sensor itself is on the bell housing. So what you want to do is crawl into your vehicle, or I could get it from the top, is just unplug this connector, and this connector looks like this guy right here. That is a crankshaft position sensor connector. So you're going to be looking for something like that. It's a 3-cavity connector. It's got a little push pin here, or a little push tab here. You push that in, disconnect it, you're good to go. So go ahead and find that and disconnect it. And what this thing has is, like I said, 3 different cavities on it. So, and what this is you've got, it goes from left to right, 1, 2, 3. And what these are in order is cavity 1 is the crankshaft position sensor signal that goes back to the PCM. Cavity 2 is the sensor ground, and cavity 3 is the 5-volt reference signal that comes from the PCM. And what that is the PCM sends out 5 volts to every sensor, and then the sensors handle that voltage in varying ways and then send it back to the PCM. And what it's going to do is it's going to use some of that voltage, and however much voltage the PCM receives back is how it determines what that sensor is doing or what that sensor is measuring. It's a pretty smart way of doing it. So anyway, guys, what we're going to do is the first part of the test is on this cavity. You're going to want to put a, and one thing I should reference is is that this is a late model connector. This is what most of you are going to be up against. If you have a very, very early Wrangler or a very early Wrangler, it will be a little bit different. But if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me and I will give you the correct pinout for that. So, okay, so from there on out, let's see what we do. First thing we do is we turn your ignition on, and we're going to measure the 5-volt supply. So what we're going to do is pin 3, which is this pin here, this very last pin here. You're going to stick your positive lead, which will be the red, out of your multimeter into this pin right here. And these things are kind of small, these cavities are kind of small, and you want to make sure you don't stretch these things out, because if you stretch these cavities out, they could end up giving you problems later on because they're not making a good connection. What a lot of people do is get a paper clip, bend it out, and stick the end of the paper clip in there. I actually have the a connector set that you can get from Matco or Snap-on that gives you the correct size pin to go in there. But anyway, you put the pin here in the 3rd cavity, and then your negative end, you want to touch that to a ground. A battery ground is the way to go. So, alright, so what we're going to do is turn the key on. Okay, so at this point you'll have 5-volt readout here, and that's what we're looking for. If it's anything less than that, then you have a problem with your voltage supply circuit, and you need to investigate that circuit. And if you come across that, it's pretty rare that you might come across something like that. It's probably going to be something in the wiring, and if you email me, I can help you out with a wiring diagram, and hopefully we can help you chase that. So, but what we've got there is we've got 5 volts. That's exactly what we're looking for. So from there we're going to key off, and it's very imperative that you make sure you turn your key off, because you don't want to burn your PCM up or spike the voltage or cause another code. So, alright. From there we're going to measure the pin 2 ground. So once again, here's our connector, and pin 2 is the one in the very middle. So we're just going to move the red lead from that connector to the center pin there, the center cavity. So let's go ahead and move that over. And then we're going to move our voltmeter over here to the ohm section. And you'll see that, and here's where you want to put your decimal point, but you see that it's got 000. That means that we have no resistance between that cavity, the second cavity on that connector, and the ground. And that's exactly what we want. Now let me show you what it might be. If you had a problem with your ground circuit, this is what you would see. It would give you no digital readout at all. And that would mean that you're out of limits. That means you have an excessive amount of resistance. The voltmeter can't even read the amount of resistance you have. So that means you have a broke wire. If you have any numbers at all here, that means that you simply have a corroded or a burnt up wire. It could still be given a little bit of ground, but you're gonna have to replace that wire, overlay the wire, replace your harness, something to that effect. So basically, what some people run into is at some point they've had that wire pierced to do a test, and water will get in there and corrode their wire, and you won't even tell it from the outside. You'll look at the wire and go, looks great. The inside of the wire is actually corroded. So that's how you're going to test that. So, alright. So then we're going to measure the resistance between pin 1 on this connector, which is all the way over here to the left, pin 1, and the black PCM connector, which is this one right here. So, and if you take this PCM connector out, you can actually see, I'm probably not going to be able to get it show up on video, but you can actually see that it actually has a letter correspondence and a number correspondence next to each pin. So this one starts out, and this actually, you want to read it like this. This one starts out and it goes right to left. So 1's over here and cavity 11 is over here, and then it goes down and reads right to left. So starts over here, goes to here. Oh, sorry, let me get this in the video. Starts over here, goes across. Second row goes across, third row goes across. So it reads right to left. So, but anyway, so what you're going to do at this point is you're going to measure between pin 1 on your crankshaft position sensor connector and pin A8 on the PCM connector. So what you want to do is just get your connector, and it's actually this top pin here. It's hard to show exactly, but it's this pin right here. So you're going to go from there to there, and you're going to measure the resistance. So your voltmeter is actually already set up on the correct thing here. And what we're going to do actually is move this to pin 1. In pin A8 there you have 0 resistance. That is exactly what you're looking for. So you're measuring the resistance between pin 1 and pin A8 on that one. So you have 0 resistance there, you're good to go. Let's move on to the next step. If you show anything else, you need to check that circuit, and that is the camshaft position sensor signal circuit. So you just want to check that circuit for a corroded wire. If you have out of limits, you might have a broken wire. If you have any higher number than 0, you just have a corroded or a burnt wire. So from there, we're going to move. We already got the crankshaft position sensor set on pin 1. So then we're going to move to pin A4 on the PCM harness. So pin A4, and actually this is exactly what you want, is an out of limits reading. And basically what we're doing here is we just want to make sure we don't have a short to ground or 2 wires shorted together. So pin A8 or pin A4 is the sensor ground, and what we're measuring from pin 1 is the camshaft position sensor signal. So we just want to make sure they're not crossing over each other. 2 wires fused together, spliced together, whatever, we don't have a problem there. So out of limits is exactly what you're looking for. So at this point, what you want to do is replace the crankshaft position sensor. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that right now. So in case you were curious, your crankshaft position sensor, if you had a problem before finding it, it's this guy right here. And you've got a harness going up to that connector that we were recently testing to this sensor here. You've got 2 bolts. They were respectively like an 11 millimeter. I believe they're somewhere around a 3/8 standard, but you've got a bolt here and a bolt above there. You pull these out. Now there's a grommet here that this fits down into, so you want to make sure that you salvage that grommet to put back on your new sensor. So we just take these 2 bolts out, pull this sensor out, put your new sensor back in, 2 bolts, and then connect your upper connector, and you have successfully diagnosed and replaced your crankshaft position sensor, which is, in all reality, what happens to most of these 2.5 and 4 liter Jeeps. I'm going to edit this thing and get it up for you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. It's thejeepdoctor@gmail.com. Leave a comment up on the post. I will respond as promptly as I possibly can. And if you have any other codes you'd like for me to show you how to diagnose, please send me an email. I will get up a video in the future of what you need, as long as it's not too integrated and complicated. I mean, you know, of course, guys, I can't diagnose something that's really complicated and in depth in a normal video and put it on YouTube. So But please feel free to leave your comments up in the post. I appreciate your views. Please check out my other videos. Thanks so much, guys.